Nestled along a dry riverbank in central Arizona is a little-known tribe of Pima Indians. Over the ruins of once thriving villages, this quaint, picturesque people dwell in seclusion.
We're going to be out in Mesa, and we're going to actually be out near the Mormon Temple, the Church of the Latter-day Saints Temple in Mesa. And it was under, they were doing reconstruction of it. So the whole place had been kind of basically torn up, and everything had changed. And I wanted to go out because I wanted to look and see if I could find where the Hieroglyphic Stone had been. So today we're out at Pioneer Park, just north of the LDS Temple, Mormon Temple, Latter-day Saints Temple here in Mesa, Arizona. And what we're looking for, and we know there's a lot of redevelopment, but we're looking around the Hieroglyphic Stone, which we believe really ties into this whole story, was out here. Now I have photographs from years ago, but currently we're looking to see what happened to this stone that was so important. It was considered something of a centerpiece because of the Mayan calendar interpretation of the stone, and according to the Mormon theology of the lost tribes of Israel, they thought that tied into that. Now the gentleman that did all this, and we'll talk about him more, wrote a number of books and just papers concerning all this, but he moved it, I believe it was 1934, over out here, and it became like a big part of the deal of why the temple should be established here. He was one of the individuals pushing for that. So we're going to do a little bit of an investigation, looking around, getting some footage. It is kind of, we find a little odd that as we began this last year or two and started slowly beginning some of the backdoor investigations, that everything changed and suddenly the hieroglyphic or petroglyph or whatever stone is no longer available for viewing, and that even the research center has been completely leveled and gone. So we'll discuss some of that, but we're going to kind of start taking a look around and see what we see out here today. One of the things I was very curious about was when it came to the Hieroglyphic Stone, is when I was in Hieroglyphic Canyon, I'd been told time and time again, and I'd seen the articles. It came from the Superstition Mountains. I knew the story and the history of it. I'd seen the newspaper articles concerning when they'd taken in a Sunday school group of children with he was not only an educator and teacher and a Sunday school teacher, but an archaeologist. LeSueur took this group out there in a flatbed truck, and I was like, how did they get a flatbed truck in here? And I looked at various areas, but where the nearest petroglyphs were, I was like, how did these kids how are they able to manage this huge tons of just boulder up and get it in this truck? I'm sure they had pulleys, they had winches, but how were they not going to damage it and stuff? There were so many questions to the area of how would they physically be able to get to it? How would they be able to transfer it? I was told, well, the trysting stone's in there and all this, and then I started to doubt that, because I knew there was a history of Apaches in the area. I knew the Salado, the Hohokam, there was other groups. I didn't know of a lot of Pima activity in the area at times. So I talked to another number of people from the Salt River area and down by Sacaton, and I was trying to find out, well, were there ceremonial type things? Was there a lot of activities going out in the superstitions concerning the Pimas? And I wasn't getting as much information. I knew the Apaches and Pimas had a lot of conflicts and stuff, but it didn't seem designated. But then I would get the first-hand stories from people that said, oh, I came out here with a Pima elder, and he told me this is, this is where our ceremonies were performed, and this, and people would give me that. Oh, the petroglyph stone or hieroglyphic stone was located over here by the spiral, and I was given this straightforward information. Well, I had the newspaper articles, but I kept doubting it. And that's when I tried to contact the Church of the Latter-day Saints a number of times, emailing and making some phone calls, because I knew the research center had been torn down and everything was archived for the time being. And I knew the stone wasn't there, even though I had photographs and I'd seen the stone there. I wanted to find some sort of history or see what else they might have on it. Knowing Lesueur was an archaeologist, I would think there would be more information, more details. And I was looking, as I was trying to uncover things and starting to doubt the newspaper stories or what the basic knowledge of this was, I wanted to come out and get a first-hand look at it and the site, see how they're storing it, and what the story behind it was.
So here we are. We're just right across the street, just north of the temple. You can see here in the background to my left, and we'll be approaching over there, obviously an active construction site. We've been looking over the park just in case they decided to move the stone over here. And I know what the stone looks like. It's approximately about 4 feet tall. It has the petroglyphs, and I haven't seen it anywhere, but we're going to kind of take an active look in case they moved it over somewhere else. I'm kind of have that concern that after almost 100 years, maybe the significance of it is kind of lost if they moved on from that. So we're going to take a look over, see what we can get, see if we can peek around a little, but I know this is a big development project. And like I said, the main temple is still there, but the research center, I think it was the reflection pool or gazing pool or pond is gone. So everything associated with the stone and where it was is gone currently, but we'll kind of take a look and see what we can see right now.
So one of the things that's interesting is Lesueur really was one of those people believed in the lost tribes of Israel thing, and he believed it could be the Incas or the Mayans or someone like that, and he believed the hieroglyphic stone was something to do with them and what was on there. He wrote several books. You could call them more like they're not bigger than pamphlets, but he wrote about these lost tribes and the symbols and stuff, and the Mayans and the Aztecs and the Incas and different things that would be involved with these lost tribes. So he tried to make this parallel. This is one of the reasons he was so interested in the stone. He felt this was kind of connected that lost tribe with the Latter-day Saints, who were another group considered part of these lost tribes. And so you read the writings, it's difficult for those of us who don't kind of acknowledge the dogma of this, but it's important because you're trying to understand that person's thinking and their process. And that story is the Pimas gifted him the stone, which I doubted as well. So I kept taking all these things relevant and trying to contact the Church of the Latter-day Saints or the Mormons and find out, okay, what happened to the stone? Does anybody have any kind of idea? I wasn't looking for an argument or a debate on the beliefs. I was looking for something on the history of it and whether it was considered still something prominent. Were they going to be utilizing it on the property?
All right, so we're out here just across from the temple, and it's about time for us to cross, but we're going to forget about that. Obviously, the family surname of the gentleman, not only who found the stone and removed the stone and brought it here, was a big part of the founding of the temple, but another associating gentleman who did a series of videos you can find, Mysteries of the Superstition Mountains, Charlie. Believe the gentleman was either his great-great-uncle or great-great-grandfather. It was a family member, and he was interested in this. What kind of makes this all even more mysterious is that traffic. But makes this more mysterious is that Charlie just passed away before we were able to contact him and discuss with him if he had any information or any knowledge of the family's history with the stone. So we'll take our walk over here now that I got to push the button again, and we'll probably redo this in a quieter spot, but let's get ready to cross the street and see what we can see.
We did quite a bit of OTF interview stuff. We didn't have a lav mic at the time. We didn't have a shotgun mic. I'm hoping we present some of it. We had so much problem with just being able to hear what I was saying, a lot of what I'm doing now. But in the moment in the time, we were really trying to kind of touch base with this. One of the things as we were walking, we discussed quite a bit, was Charlie LeSueur was starting out doing his videos at the time, and Charlie and I had talked. And I told him there was something I was involved in that I was very interested in, that I was going to do a lot of work into. And I wanted to talk to him about, because I knew this was one of his relatives, I think a great uncle or someone. And I wanted to talk to Charlie about it and see if he had any information. I'm sure the church had more background information than he might have even had. He may not have been aware of it. So I really wanted to be involved, get Charlie involved in that, to have kind of like do that part of it, because his family history is involved in this a little bit, and it would probably reveal some things that he didn't know about it. And unfortunately, Charlie passed away shortly during that time period we were trying to accomplish all this. And that's one of those little regrets you have, is something's working its way out, that it would have been great to connect with him, to sit down with him and talk about some of this and get him involved in the story, because it would have been nice to have him in. He wouldn't have been an important piece or part of this, but his family name's involved in it, and it would have been nice. So that was an unfortunate thing, because we talked about working together on a couple different things, not necessarily blending anything we were doing, since there's kind of an at-odds thing there. That was for whatever reason. But I thought I was always open to involving something, and I'd even talked to him about, why don't you guys come out, film one of your things of us filming what we're doing. You guys can talk about what we're doing or the history of the area, and in the background have us and talk about, and then we'll do the same thing, and we'll kind of cross promote each other and stuff. And he liked the idea. We talked about it, and I don't know how Dave feels about it now with the channel and stuff, but that was something Charlie and I were talking between the two of us off and on about, is like, that would be kind of a cool idea, because it would help both channels and it would help everything involved, because I'm about promoting the superstitions and the history and the truth and kind of busting up the myths. And I know that's not always what everybody else is doing, but part of that would be involving anyone and everyone. I've never had a problem with involving anybody in anything, as long as they're honest and forthright. So, but yeah, I kind of, that was a loss for us, was not being able to have at least something. And I wanted to mention it here, because I think Charlie deserves mention, because in this process he was going to be involved.
We do have a low spot, even if we can't use the audio. The reflection pool or whatever, the stone was up that way much further. So we wouldn't have been able to see it from here anyways, but all this had, there was a research building, the family genealogy building, all that was over this area up there. It's all been leveled, it's been raised, it's gone. We're obviously putting some new footers for something here, but we'll work our way around and see what we can see around here.
So Tyler and I work our way around, and we walked the entire perimeter. We looked around in the surrounding neighborhood. We even kind of like trespassed a bit, because we found openings, and we tried to be as respectful as we could. I looked to see if I could get someone's attention to say, hey, do you mind if we come in here and do a little of this and talk to someone? There was no one on the site during that time that I could get a hold of. But I walked around, and I'd been pretty much not getting any response on my phone calls and emails. So we walked the entire perimeter, and every place we could get any type of film or photographs, we were looking. I knew the site where the reflection pool had been and the stone had been, but I was looking to see if did it get boxed up, did it get moved over here, did it get moved over there. It's a rock, it's been sitting out in the weather forever, so I don't know how much care they would have taken with it.
Obviously have covered it and have given very, very little. The temple is there. I've been here before, and I know I have some photographs. I don't know if I have any video footage of my time spent here. Just north of it was where the research center and the pool was, and so forth, and all these different things and different angles. I'm trying to kind of set myself, since they've kind of literally ripped everything out of here, and plus keep some eyes out, and just in case they moved the hieroglyphic stone somewhere in the vicinity. It seems odd they would keep it on site, but then again, 100 years later, I don't know how significant someone might have remembered that stone was originally to when they were going to build the temple. So we're going to continue around. We're going to make our way clear around the site. I haven't been contacted by anyone I reached out to concerning its removal, where it might be, if they do actually know the significance of it. I'm trying to stay out of the controversial sides of where a lot of people don't believe it should have ever been moved out of the superstitions here. They don't believe it should have just been moved for theological reasons for any branch or group of any religion. But again, it was significant, and we think it has some ties to what happened and to the spiral staircase. We definitely believe that, and to the group that moved it. So we're going to continue working our way around and see if we can kind of have any sign of it. Obviously, the site is completely deserted, which is probably better for us, because if someone was here, we'd be kind of putting out some knowledge that we are here and trying to do some sort of investigation or get in, and I don't know if they'd be that open to it. All right, you can see where they've got some tears and rips in this. They've actually patched together so you can't view in. The only access points we've been able to see in is where there's a gate and where people have pulled on the gate, and we've been actually able to look over. Otherwise, they've kind of like, so you can't really see in unless you're extremely tall. I guess we could stand on this barrier and try to get a look in. But people have poked some holes in. So we're trying, like I said, we're trying to get a little bit of a view to see if there's anything in there, if the stone is maybe wrapped up and preserved, set off to the side. So we'll continue on our path around here. It's actually a pretty large complex. So we'll be walking around the complete exterior of it and see, not necessarily trying to get access. I wouldn't want to do that, but we'll continue our trail around here. Okay, here we have the taking a view from the western side, looking at the temple, and kind of trying to see if we see anything in the vicinity. I'm not seeing any large boulders or anything like that. Are you, Tyler? No. So we'll continue our path and kind of wherever we get a peek, a look in, but a pretty good view of this side during the development and so forth, and one of the gazing reflection pools that it looks like they've built back up. So we'll continue on our trail around here. So we're here down at the southern area, the southern access of the temple, and it looks like there's a couple guys working. I don't think we're going to be able to reach out to anybody here, and they look like just general contractors. But you can see the lighting poles that are spread out. Again, everything I see boxed up and crated. There's trees. I'm seeing nothing that looks like the stone. Of course, we'll have the video footage to review of the general area, but kind of looking through. They do have some specific trees and areas fenced off for protection during the construction. So I don't know if that's so much of interest, but it shows they're doing a lot towards the preservation of the trees and the vegetation around here. So we'll just continue to move along and look at the various access points we have and what's here. They obviously have cameras set up. It's more for the construction material, I think, and possibly theft of those. So they have the camera towers there, but yeah, I don't see anything still so far that shows the petroglyph stone is on site. And then, of course, without them contacting me through my inquiries, and no one here generally as a rule in official capacity to answer my questions, it doesn't seem like we're getting answers. So you can never pass up the opportunity regardless, because an open door is an invitation, and so it's locked. In fact, I can see now there's a lock on the other side, but always see, open doors invitation to look around. So we'll continue to move on. Behind me, we kind of looked over there, the grounds behind us here, south of the temple, just to look and see if the stone could have been removed over to there. We didn't see any sign of it. So again, we continue to move on and investigate the area. We're going to be as thorough as we possibly can. Hopefully we'll find someone to talk to that actually has some sort of knowledge of the construction here. So we'll continue to move on. I'm looking around. I see actually a couple of the crates I saw, but they're open on this side, so I can actually see that they're open and the material has been removed from them, so there's no. And I'm getting a good angle here. This appears to be the area where they do lunch breaks. They have an ice machine and stuff. But again, not seeing any signs of any landscape boulder or anything like that. Though I did see some of the benches that were removed and moved over here, obviously. So hopefully we'll find something kind of more preserved. Maybe come upon some. We got about a quarter of there to go. So. Probably one of the better views I think we may be getting. I'm hoping we'll get a better, but I think the elevation is a problem. There was like a elevated viewing station, but it's interior to this. so we won't be able to watch or look at anything. So I don't see anything on the grounds, anything even box crated. It looks like the trees, you know, they've left everything else in place. Again, obviously, did they even know, you know, there doesn't seem to be any landscaping boulders left on the site. So kind of looking around, I'm starting to feel now that we're kind of about 85% all the way around. We're not going to see anything. So architecture of the building I always found fascinating. But other than that, I'm just not seeing any sign. And any sign of any type of landscaping materials. It might take a return trip for that. But again, I will continue to reiterate, and it's redundant almost to a point, is I'm not getting any feedback on that point. They do actually have of the redevelopment and the construction. They have a site where they do updates and so forth. But they never actually mention the Mayan calendar hieroglyphic petroglyphic stone, which, like I said, was so significant at one time, you almost wonder if they didn't realize what it was and donated it or just moved it somewhere else and just dumped it. So we'll continue our way around, though, see if we can see anything. I'm here on the northwestern area. Looks like one of the main construction gates. And I'm obviously on camera. They have a camera sitting right here. Multiple cameras watching the construction site. But I can see the pool. I can see there's a lot of cameras around the pool. A lot more down here than there were down there where actually the material's being stored. But I'm kind of looking down there. Of course, it's set in. So since it's a drop in elevation, I can't see down in. I do know the stone was next to a bench. It looks like the landscaping that was surrounding it is gone, so it's missing. So it's not even physically there anymore. So obviously, if the stone was there, you would actually probably see it, not from this vantage point, but from one of the vantage points. And I've looked at satellite imagery, and it doesn't seem to be in place anymore. None of the benches are. The bench that was next to it is missing too. So, but we'll continue the last bit here and just see if we see anything. There is nothing crated or anything stored along here. But a lot of the original trees and vegetation are still in. They were preserved along these areas and so forth. So it will be interesting to see what it looks like when it's all finished. But again, it looks like we're not going to find anything here today from what I can see.
After we'd checked the whole perimeter, we also looked across the street and I saw a storage yard, and I said, let's go check that, Tyler. And we got over and we kind of climbed up and looked over the walls, and we realized there was a lot of the petrified wood trees and boulders and a lot of stuff from over there. So then I got me excited because I thought, okay, it could be over here. So we started basically making it a complete, I think we were able to basically hit all 3 out of the 4 sides because there was a private residence on one side and we couldn't get to that access. So we went around, and wherever I could get access or get up on the wall, and I would look over and then just slowly, hoping nobody would be getting upset with me, is kind of going through piece by piece, foot by foot, of looking at everything I could count out. The lamps, the street lighting, everything they had laid out there, to see if I could find anything that resembled the stone, the size of the stone, that it could have possibly been placed there. And the sad, unfortunate thing is we probably took 2-3 hours walking around slowly filming. The footage is not great. The wind was blowing. It was probably under the worst possible conditions to do this. It was one of Tyler's early times trying with the camera to film everything with me. And it didn't turn out exactly how I wanted. I'm so used to working with Trevor, it's unfortunate for Tyler that I just expected Tyler to know what I wanted at times, or angles, or how I wanted it. Tyler was just trying to basically hang around with the camera and film what I was doing rather than filming for what we were going to look at. So we lost a lot of good footage, but then the footage wouldn't have been that great because we absolutely came out empty with 0. It was a few hours of just spending a lot of time looking and finding nothing. We got a lot of great video footage of where we knew it wasn't at that point, but that was kind of where we had gotten to.
There are a number of large landscaping boulders. Trees they've cut down, the pieces and parts of the trees, but there are a number of boulders. I don't know if we're going to be able to get access around here to get a good view. We're going to try to. But it's the first time I've seen any of the landscaping boulders, and I believe all this comes from across the street. So we're going to take a look over there quick before we're out of here and see if one of those, and that's going to be a shame, because it looks like they were not removed real carefully. They were just kind of dumped in there. So we will take a look at that though, to make sure. There is a similarity, what I'm seeing on them. So I would hope they would have wrapped it and preserved it or boxed it, but we're going to go check that out. So we're working our way back around this east side. It looks like it's something of a salvage yard for material. The north end of that yard, I couldn't see anything particular. The boulders were all smaller, but I saw a lot of stuff. I can still see material over from this side that did come from the area. They have kind of set probably to be replaced. I don't know if it's being replaced or to reinstall it at a later date. But it looks like there's a vacant, empty lot here right behind where those boulders back were stored. I'm hoping that'll give us a point of access where we'll be able to look over the wall and get a good look at the boulders. See that boulder standing up over there by the wood? It's kind of 4 feet tall. It doesn't have any markings. We've seen both sides, so that can't be it, but it's about that size. But looking at all these boulders, we got a couple close to us here. Nothing has any type of markings or petroglyphs on it. So it doesn't appear to be here, but this is where they brought the landscape boulders, it appears, from over there. So it was worth a shot. But we've seen both. Well, we haven't seen both sides of these here, but those over there, we've seen a little bit of both sides. There's no markings, nothing, the calendar stone. I've seen different sides of it. This one here closest to us that's leaning over is similar, somewhat similar. I don't think it's exact. For all we know, it could be under that wood in the debris pile. But again, very interesting that a lot of the stuff was brought over here and just dumped. I would think they would preserve it and crate it and be more careful with it than this, but I don't know. So we'll walk down here and see if I can get a peek over here. Looks like the trees are still putting off lemons because they got a bucket of lemons over there. So, but they seem to be preserving an awful lot of the material.
So what comes up is I start looking through this paperwork, and I start looking at LeSueur's different papers and things that are available through the Church of the Latter-day Saints. And I start taking this stuff and asking for it, requesting it, and getting this stuff, not directly asking about the stone anymore, and then start going through. And then I find an article that mentions that the stone was taken from the Santan Mountains. And that suddenly makes sense. There's a hieroglyphic canyon somewhere in the Santan Mountains, and that the Pimas would have been there, and that he'd been down there, and it's close down to the temple. And suddenly it's like bing. And so now there's a whole different process as I'm like, okay, I'm trying to argue this. And I wish Tom Collenborn would have been alive, because it was good research. It was just getting a nagging feeling. And a lot of people, it's not saying anybody that printed that ever was wrong. It was just no one knew better. The articles never said anything but Hieroglyphic Canyon, and every article always acted like it was back in there. LeSueur just simply said it was in a hieroglyphic canyon, it was back in the mountains, he wanted to preserve it, that the area should be a historical monument or something of that, of all the other petroglyphs, and the assumption was that was Hieroglyphic Canyon of Superstition Mountains. It was not, it never was. It was from down in Sacaton, down by Blackwater, out on the reservation, and the Pimas had allowed him to do that. One thing we were finding reflection, and we're going to put the name in here so everybody always remembers it because I'll mention it, is Kim Johnson, because Kim Johnson picked that up from where I was and got very interested. And a lot of this was resolved from a lot of excellent, great research and work done by Kim.
Hi, I'm Wayne Tuttle, and that guy isn't. Anyway, we're here to disprove a few things. There's been a lot of talk about this Aztec calendar petroglyph that was found in Hieroglyphic Canyon in Superstitions. And I remember seeing that rock at the Mormon temple when I was a little kid, and it always intrigued me. In fact, it got me interested in the superstitions to where here we are now today, out in the middle of them. And when I found out that the church had given it back to a local tribe, is what the contractor told me, he didn't remember who it was or where it was going, I got really interested on, well, who got it? And, you know, is it sitting in somebody's backyard as a landscape thing, or what's going on? So I started digging on it. And then I started talking to Wayne after Don's meeting. He says, yeah, that'd be really cool if we could figure out where it actually came from. And he was thinking it was from Sacaton, and I was thinking it was from Olberg, Sackatoon area, but nobody really knew. And I got a hold of the church, the Historical Society, Church of Latter-day Saints in Salt Lake. I don't remember the gal's name. She sent me the name and number of the guy that headed up moving the stone out to the Sackatoon Reservation. So I called him, and he basically gave all the information to me that I needed. I gave it to Wayne, and we both said, wow, that's pretty cool. It's not out in the Superstitions. It came from Olberg, Arizona. And we're not trying to dispel or create any problems with people that have written stories about the Hieroglyphic Canyon and the Aztec calendar, which, by the way, the tribe did tell me that's not a calendar, and they didn't really want to say anything about what the symbols meant, which is fine. You know, they're the same folks that did Snaketown, so they like to keep their old stuff pretty quiet. Anyway, we found out that it didn't come from the Superstition Mountains, and we started talking to people, and we figured out that, wow, this story might be good.
And Kim and I just kept on it. And, you know, you can just imagine the two of us crisscrossing all over the reservation looking for this stone, because we literally at one point were on cell phones and talking to each other separately, driving all over the reservation, looking behind buildings and stuff. And the odd thing about it is no one in Sackatoon ever questioned me. I went to tribal headquarters. I went to so many people asking them questions. And I'm just this guy showing up saying, hey, I'm looking for a really big rock. It has like the circular calendar thing on it. Do you know anything about it? And because I know it's not there with the Church of Latter-day Saints anymore. So I figure it's down here and it's been restored. And Kim was able to resolve every question we had about it. So kudos to him. And, you know, I don't know what I would have done, because I would have eventually got there. I would have got the right person. But Kim somehow got a response. And I don't know why he got responses where I didn't. But hats off to him, because he definitely pulled that one out and resolved that issue. And there's a mystery that was never known to be a mystery, but it was. The actual petroglyph, the hieroglyphic stone, came from Sackatoon outside of Blackwater in a canyon, and an old community that no longer exists down on the reservation. And there is no access to the site, so don't even bother. But that was something, that was a nice thing put in the pocket. That was a feather in the cap, definitely to Kim, but for all of us, because it also took one thing for me and Frank, the whole petroglyph, hieroglyphic Mayan story out of the Superstitions. Now, could the spiral still have something to do with the Mayans, Aztecs, or someone? Absolutely, it still could. But the petroglyph stone with the Mayan calendar has nothing to do to associate with that whatsoever.
The funny part is, the stone had been displayed at the Mormon temple upside down. If you're familiar with the stone, there's a big circle, and then there's two little circles, and that big circle was always at the top when it was displayed at the temple. Now, where it's displayed, it's turned over this way, and that was the correct way it was when it was in the canyon that they pulled it out of.
I got out here, we wanted to film to kind of wrap things up, the petroglyph stone. I'm having to wait. I was directed to Communications and Public Affairs Office of the Gila River tribe, and I'm waiting to get permission from the council if that would deem so. There's certain restrictions they have in place right now, and so I'm hoping so. I kind of sucks. I have some res dogs here keeping me company, so I have one that's quite loyal. He got a little of the last of my burger, so he's not going anywhere. But yeah, I'm gonna wait for a bit and see if I'll get my permission to go down and do just a short bit of filming. But if not, this works as a caveat to everyone that you need to get permission. Just don't wander out there. You just kind of like ask politely for permission. If you're denied, it's just what it is. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. It is their land, and you have to respect the fact that they have restrictions
custom restrictions, best way to put it, of someone going out there. And so I'll wait, and if I don't have the authority or the permission to do so, then that will be it, and we'll be on out of here. So, hey buddy, you're not no shapeshifter, are you? No? They're gonna turn into some old man or some other thing? I fed you. Yeah, get some cheeseburger with some fries. It's all good. Okay, probably should go on your way. All right, I'll catch you around. See you around. Thank you. So, I did not get permission. I waited a bit. It just is how it is. And I'm going to respect what, they required and asked of me, and maybe I will get the permission, and I will be able to return and get footage and add it later. But unfortunately, I don't think it was the trip was in vain, because it also kind of sends the direction to everyone. Be respectful, ask, and if things don't go your way, then just simply say thank you and move along. That's all you can do. And it was a beautiful day. The winds calmed down. The rain stopped. So I'm not going to have any complaints. Weather wouldn't have been perfect with the bit of the wind we had, but it is what it is. And it does happen like this. And so we continue to move on and kind of document what we can of the site and kind of move to the next step forward now that we've put the definitive pin in the hieroglyphic, petroglyphic Mayan calendar stone. It did come from Sacaton. It came from Olber. I heard some great stories from some people. They shared personal stories of, growing up here on the Gila River reservation. And everybody was very, very kind, very polite. They came over and they talked to me and stuff. And they were all interested in hearing a bit of the story about it and some of the aspects of it. But yeah, it just, sometimes things don't come out the way you were hoping. And I hoped, because we had access before, we didn't film. We thought, okay, we're being allowed to have access, so we would continue. And so we didn't film. We took some photographs and we let that be. And so now it's just in our best interest to be respectful, because you never know when your trip will return you here. Always, we want to thank all the people that kind of put in on this, because this was something that over a number of years, there was a lot of given effort. Definitely Kim Johnson, who definitely downplayed what he did, is being able to message and email and make contact and open a discussion and discourse with the Church of the Latter-day Saints and the people there, and as well as with Barnaby Lewis from the Gila River Indian Reservation. All these people, it was necessary for them to kind of be open and being very kind and very courteous about everything. We did try to ask for access to Olber, if we would be able to get a permit or permission. Would have been nice in the current day. I was told there was a trading post on the way in there, and back in the day when some of these people were growing up when they were younger, and but that access is completely, it takes tribal council permission, I think, even for everyone who lives out here, to access that road and go back in there. And I don't want to step beyond any boundaries out here, since everyone's treated me so well, and I've tried to be absolutely respectful in every way possible. So not going to show the access points and stuff like that. I'm not going to show where the stone is sitting. I don't want anyone to go out there and ruin that for everyone. Hopefully someday they'll have that put in perspective. Just simply understand that ground is not someplace they just want anyone to walk in for specific reasons for the tribe. And be respectful of that. I mean, if you're not you deserve to go to jail or be arrested or whatever could come your way, because you have to be respectful. So I could see the stone from the windows, talking to one of the secretaries. I could stand out in front of the truck and look down at the stone, and I didn't take any photographs or film because they asked me to obtain tribal council permission. So even though I could have accessed some footage and stuff from my truck, I decided I'll play by the rules all the way. It's not that it didn't get me anywhere. It hopefully gave me the opportunity to come back again and maybe have permission and access. So always remember that. But with everything included in the episode, it should be more than enough for everyone to kind of get a taste and understand of all this. So again, I know we leave you kind of a little hanging dry on this. It would have been nice to wrap it up and have a nice little, say something really nice, right, standing beside the stone and some close-ups of it and so forth. But it is what it is, and we will move forward and move on, and we will start looking around the surrounding area at other things concerning the spiral and the area and some of the history, and continue our investigations moving forward.